What I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about my personal story and why I'm involved in dementia research, and then also tell you a little bit about the work we're doing in Manchester, but in the setting of the wider COMFORTage project. So the starting point really for me is this. This handsome chap here is another Dr. Muir. This is my father, Archie, who was a GP in his professional life, but he's seen here wearing my gown from my research degree. Why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant in two counts. First of all, my dad as a GP had a very good professional life, but later on he developed dementia. And the first sign that I knew of this was we would regularly go back to the family home and visit. And I went into the room and said hello. And he paused and said, "It's Kenneth, isn't it?" At first, I thought he was joking because obviously it was Kenneth. But that was the first time I noticed that he had dementia. He was losing his memory. He was forgetful. And over the following 5 years, would go up regularly to support not only my dad, but my mother as well. And I acted as a part-time carer. And that was an eye-opener because to see the amount of support needed and the stress on the family, also the privilege of looking after someone that's losing their capacities, was one of the best periods of my life, to be frank. But the stress on my mother, who was there full time, obviously I was working, so I wasn't there all the time, just brought home the key role that carers play in this disease. You'll see that my dad is wearing my research gown from graduation. And as a researcher, it was at that point that I thought, what can I do to look at making a difference in this condition of dementia? And I'll say a little bit about what we're doing in terms of research. But really to highlight at this stage, the role of the carers is absolutely key and absolutely central to what we should be trying to do. So against that background, over the past 20 years, I've been doing quite a lot of work in dementia prevention, dementia and frailty. And as Luke has indicated, dementia is not one condition. It's got multiple endotypes. And the pathologies are different, so it's a challenging condition to work in. And against this, the EU has funded this large project, COMFORTage, which is looking at prevention, risk detection, caregiver support, and providing personalised interventions. The first question that most people ask when they get a disease, including dementia, or when people see someone developing a disease, is, what's caused it? If you're the index case, why me? Why have I got it? And one of the people that we worked with early on, a lady called Professor Ruth Itzhaki, she's been working in dementia for over 50 years. She's now 85, based at the University of Oxford. And she was looking at viruses and the immune response. And Luke indicated there has been this major review that is ongoing, and it's found risk factors. To my mind, it's not the end of the story, it's the start of the story. And there are 14 risk factors, 4 of which can be intervened on, but there's still very much a lot of work to be done. And I think caregivers monitoring patients and being at risk themselves are a key part of this ongoing process of finding why me. So in COMFORTage, that's what our work is doing. We're focused at the healthier end of the spectrum in people with no signs of dementia, or at least very early signs. And what we are really focusing on is using biosamples, blood samples in particular, DNA, etc., to find proximal markers. So if you tell someone in their 40s, well, your profile puts you at risk of dementia, why don't you change your lifestyle now? Why don't you change your diet, do more exercise? It's a poor proposition. To do something that may or may not happen in 20, 30, 40 years' time, based on a profile of risk, is not very motivational. So what we're doing is focusing on changes that occur when you're 40, when you're 50, and really trying to reverse those early changes that may lead on to dementia. So that's what we're doing. And to do that, it's an individual thing. We need to provide personal support. We need to do personal risk assessment and intervene early. Caregivers have a key role in this. Caregivers are at the front end of this. They're working with their person that they're supporting, they're monitoring, and they themselves tend to put themselves at the back of the queue in terms of looking after themselves as well. It may be if you're looking after a related person, you are at higher risk due to the genetics, and yet you have much less time to care for yourself because you're devoting your time to the person that you're caring from. So going forwards, carers need to be supported, carers need to be involved in the research, carers need to monitor the people that they're caring for and provide that data. And this is all part of the COMFORTage plan. So what has happened in other diseases is relevant here. In cancer, which was a disease I've done a lot of work on originally, sort of 30 years ago, it's become what we call the citizen science approach. People now know a lot about what causes cancer and they're starting to act on it. We stop smoking. We have a thing in the UK called Park Run, where people that know someone with cancer go out every Sunday morning and start running together. And it's become a bit of a social movement. One of the other peoples that we had at the University of Manchester, where I work, was a big advocate of, first of all, getting everyone a diagnosis of dementia, and then secondly, using that to push it up the political agenda. So Professor Alistair Burns at Manchester, he was our UK dementia czar, the leading clinical advisor to the government, and his big work was getting a diagnosis for everyone and pushing it up the political agenda, and thereby getting people to talk about it and giving caregivers a platform on which to advocate for more research, more investment, more support. And this is something that we completely support. So caregivers are in a unique position. They work with people affected by the disease, they see the changes, and they can contribute data. They can contribute data on themselves and on the progression of the person they're caring for. And this is what makes the difference in research. Data is what will change policy, data is what will further establish cause, and data is what we'll need to convince political authorities to change the current status quo. So really, we will have a series of COMFORTage podcast seminars over the coming year, as Luke has indicated, and they'll go into the further aspects of what the ambitious project is trying to do, looking at digital technologies, eHealth interventions for caregivers, and also looking at what's sort of on the horizon in terms of digital health technology. It's a very exciting time, but also something that we need to be aware of has some downsides as well. AI has got great potential, but also great threat. So using things like wearable health trackers, which are becoming very common, lots of elderly people are now using these, and having objective data to see what people are doing is absolutely key. We all think we're doing good things, but actually when you look at the objective data, it's not quite as impressive or not nearly enough compared to what the evidence suggests we need to do. I remember Professor Alistair Burns, the person I mentioned, he used to say to the caregivers, well, just get off the bus one stop earlier and do a bit more walking. Now that's good for quality of life, for well-being, but it's not quite the level of activity that's needed based on current evidence to prevent dementia progressing. So my key takeaway messages are COMFORTage is an important study. We're going to look at all aspects of the disease, but particularly early detection and prevention. We're going to look at how caregivers are so important to this whole area of work. We're going to look at AI, digital technologies, and really try to engage with caregivers, not only to support the study, but to shout out loud that we need to do much more to address this major health problem that's set to get even worse as populations age around Europe and the world. In terms of future directions, there's a load of work to do. And what we're aiming to do is to try and develop data and systems that we can offer at the end of this project in collaboration with other projects, improved and better strategies for dealing with this disease across Europe. So I'd just like to acknowledge the Uniman Manchester team that's helped produce the data that we're working on.